We are rolling. 2 seconds in.
Awesome.
It's a very pretty day. I wouldn't call it brisk.
No, it's not even windy.
No. There's a little breeze out there, but I think the house is blocking it potentially.
Yeah, that's the beautiful thing about this little enclave right here.
It works. It works well for that purpose. What, you have to have, an east wind for it to... I'm not even sure.
That is due south.
That's due south? Okay.
Yeah, we've covered this before.
We have, and that's why it's like, wait a minute, we've spoken about this before.
Yeah, and you thought I was wrong. That's why I remember. That's why I remember.
Every once in a while, you're correct. It
doesn't happen often.
It should be memorable when it happens.
I hold on to my victories.
On that note, shall we?
Yeah, let's do it.
Hello, everyone. It is once again shiftless time. And we're rolling out of our old year, but if you're listening to this, you're rolling into the new year. I don't know, is this an end of year episode or a beginning of year episode? How do we approach that?
Well, how about this hybrid?
Hybrid.
Yeah.
We cover all the bases.
Yeah.
And speaking of bases, I don't know if I hadn't noticed it before, but nice cap.
Oh, thank you, sir. I'm pretty proud of it.
You had so much to do with that victory.
No, I just bought the hat.
Texas Rangers, World Series champions.
Yeah, there's a good way to recap the year right there.
I tell you what.
It's pretty awesome stuff.
It was good. It was good. It was very good to see that. It's a long time coming. We'll see what next season brings. So what's going on in Bradland?
Man, just taking a couple of weeks off from all the madness. You know, the end of the year was kind of crazy for me, and then I haven't been riding. I haven't ridden in almost 2 weeks.
Need to do something about that.
Yeah, family in town and just imbibing too much and just cooking and eating and
it's that time of year.
Yeah. The next function I have is a New Year's Day get-together for friends and family. It's just a thing we do every year. We've done for, 20-plus years. We have a Bloody Mary bar. We make black-eyed peas and cornbread and cabbage and, the normal New Year's Day fare. Mm-hmm. And we do a charcuterie board and... we just do a come and go, We have a window and people show up, hang out. Some people come by and just have peas and cabbage and hang out for like 20 minutes and leave. And some people come and stay for a couple of hours, But it's been a tradition around here since before we had kids. So that's the next thing on my radar. And then after that, I have a guy's trip, hunting, fishing trip. So
okay.
So I have a couple of weeks of leisure.
Very nice.
So.
Very nice. How long? Jan and I were talking about this last night. How long's the gumbo tradition been going on? Because I think that's your best batch of gumbo I've had so far.
Well, I appreciate that. I don't feel like I made anything different, except for that was my own andouille.
It was your own andouille,
which I was really proud of.
You should be. Mm. That was exceptional, and it definitely did add to the mix.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was very good. I'll just leave it at that. Not that any of your others have been subpar by any stretch of the imagination.
Well, it was the most current iteration, so it was fresh on your tongue. So you're like, damn, this is good. I enjoyed it as well. Trust me.
Good.
It's been going on for probably 20, 25 years.
That's been going on that long too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It started with my uncle was coming into town, and I told him I'd make him some gumbo for Christmas, and he's been dead for 20 years.
Okay.
So, that's...
We've probably been latching onto it for 10. That's what I told.
Yeah.
She was like, "Oh, we've been doing it for 3 or 4 years." It's like, "No, baby, we've been doing it longer than that."
Yeah, I've been making big batches of gumbo for, probably 25 years. I just started selling it maybe, I don't know, 5 years ago or something, But I always made it and gave it to friends and stuff like that. But it's just a tradition at this point.
Yep.
It's something that doesn't even get discussed. It's just, hey, we're making gumbo for Christmas. So I don't know. I can't breathe again today.
Mountain cedar. It's mountain cedar season.
Is that what it is?
I have been advised that is the case, and it does kick my ass from time to time.
It's making me crazy.
Yeah, I hear you. So you haven't been. Oh, wait a minute. You said you got a hunting, fishing, guys trip going on?
Yeah, we have an annual trip with a bunch of guys that I used to work with in the oil field, and just a bunch of good guys. And we go. They call it a blast and cast trip. We camp on the river, and the thought process is eat what you catch or kill, but it never works out quite like that.
Understood.
So,
what river is this?
Brazos.
Okay.
Yeah, right at the mouth of the Brazos, there at the dam, the base of I guess that's PK, isn't it?
Possum Kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So we'll go fly fishing, duck hunting every morning. It's just an excuse to hang out and camp.
I hear you.
So,
I hear you.
And it got a little out of hand there for a couple of years, where people were bringing ridiculous campers and generators and all this. And last year we did back to the basics, and then this year I think it's back to the basics again. But I always sleep in a hammock anyways, so I enjoy it. I love sleeping outside, but we'll see. Have aspirations of catching some fish.
Okay.
So
is the fish edible there?
yeah.
Okay.
Well, why wouldn't it be?
I know some of the rivers in Texas, they don't recommend you eat the fish. I wasn't sure if the Brazos was one of them.
This is flowing water, and it comes off the PK. So there's some good sized stripers in there, or hybrids, and then they release rainbows in there. It's not cold. Excuse me. It's not cold enough to have holdovers though, so they're all hatchery stuff. But it's pretty nonetheless.
Very nice.
Some smallmouth in there, some largemouth. It's I don't know what the release rate is this time of the year, or what it'll be when we're going to be there, but I'm excited nonetheless.
Had a pretty good rain, so
Yeah.
maybe something's going on.
Yeah, everything's still holding water. It's pretty
Sure
crazy.
is.
We
Sure
had that
is.
long soaking rain. We needed some rain though.
Needed it badly.
Yeah.
Needed it badly. So I am not arguing that point.
So did you get any cycling related stuffs for Christmas?
No, I'm too old for Christmas presents.
You don't get Christmas presents even from your children's?
I think I got a hat.
Yeah.
I think I got a hat.
You think?
I know I got a hat.
Sweet.
A straw fishing hat, and because
Yeah.
I'm such the fisherman,
Yeah.
it's like, okay, this will be my Big Bend hat. It'll work well for that. We're not big on the gift exchange among the grown-ups. We get the stuff we need throughout the year, and
Yeah. It's kind of the same way around here. I handed Paula a couple of presents and said, "Hey, this is from you to me. Wrap this and put it under the tree." Yeah. So, and she's pretty vocal about telling me what she wants to.
Technically, I take that back. Jan did buy me an action cam as my Christmas gift, but I got it last month.
Yeah.
So
That's fair.
So she got a Subaru last month. So
yeah,
and and it's
as you get older, the priorities shift. Like Paula got a front door for Christmas.
yes,
but it won't be here till February. So.
I understand. I understand that logic completely. The practical stuff goes a long way. Oh, yeah. Oh, what my Christmas present this year was the truck got wrecked.
Oh yeah.
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 So yeah, sitting out of the front curb again and got clipped again. So that's the second time in 2 years, 3 years.
Wait, when did that happen?
Christmas Eve.
Oh shit.
Yep.
Jeez. Are these people hit and run?
This guy, I don't think he was going to run, but my daughter and her fiance were pulling in just as he hit my truck. And so they kind of stared him down, and he sheepishly pulled over. And
Texting and driving assumption?
That's not the impression they were under, but they were like, don't understand why he did that.
Intoxicated?
Maybe it's always a possibility.
Sure.
I mean, we didn't talk too long. I mean, you know, I'm to the point. It's like shit happens. Let me take a picture of your license. Let me take a picture of your insurance card.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, all right, I'm going to give you the chance to call your insurance company first, but I'm calling them in an hour.
Yeah.
Stories better match because I know where you live.
Yeah. Golly.
So,
that sucks. That part of my Christmas was fixing my truck too. So
is that all good to go? Are you still waiting on a whistle fix?
So yesterday, we took that all apart and put a spray gasket on the gasket itself, and I think it was chilly yesterday, and I don't think I let it cure long enough.
Okay.
So it fixed until it didn't. So the whistle came back.
The whistle came back.
So I'm going to have to get into it again.
You blew out the gasket.
Yeah. So we went over to Justin yesterday. On the way over to Justin, it decided to make itself known again. Took my kid shopping for a new pair of cowboy boots.
Oh, okay.
His first real pair of cowboy boots.
Understood.
He is fired up.
Nice.
So it was a cool experience. I don't think, as long as I've lived here, I don't think I've ever been over there and walked through all those seas of boots. I don't recall going there, but
we've done it several times over the years. I picked up a nice pair a couple years back. They fit well.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I found out that heeled boots and my knees don't go together. So I've got this brand new pair and they were steel-toed, and they were meant for spinistry stuff. So
yeah.
And they're just sitting there. It's like, that's a shame. I really would like to.
That is a shame.
Wear those boots. So, might give them another shot here. Knees are getting a little better. Did you by chance get that email I forwarded you yesterday?
I was gonna pull it up. It was a good one too. I'm not even gonna mention the fact that he misspelled decision, but he knows.
Well, I one of my Facebook birthday messages this morning is from a very highfalutin attorney we both know, and the spelling was ridiculously bad on that. It's like, okay, I don't feel so bad now.
Oh goodness!
I don't have the 8 years of school under my belt and internships and all of that.
Well, this is from our good buddy Shannon Wyatt. Love this guy.
I'm about to say good buddy is the understatement of the year.
Great guy. He obviously heard our podcast talking shit about him about getting an e-bike.
Were we talking shit about?
I really don't think we were.
But it's from his reply, it seems like he maybe felt that way. I thought we were trying to. So last episode, Brad dropped the bomb that our friend Shannon is joining the e-bike crowd, and we both pondered the whys and the wherefores and how that came about, and
he felt the need to defend himself, if you will. But he says, "Dear friends, in regard to my decision for an e-bike was due largely from the peers I ride with. Just as Brad was saying, from his highlighted bike packing trips, the crew you are with largely make up the good times had. Ben had the most sense, stating that the e-bike is like a different sport. I do agree with the majority by saying that I will not get as good of a workout as I would on a muscle bike. The e-bike keeps you aerobic for longer consistency and could build stamina. The e-bike I chose is the Orbea Rise H10 aluminum, 46 pounds. You guys mentioned handling of the bike would be the difference. That's partially true. If two guys were on identical bikes and weighed the same. There are a lot of equations and differences in e-bikes. Motor size, weight, rider weight, brands of motors and bikes, and if it has been jailbroke.
I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah. The range extender is only to allow for longer rides. It has nothing to do with power. Bragg and Ben pushed the bike on me more than anyone. They were ecstatic when I told them I had bought one, mostly so they had someone to ride with. E-bikes and muscle bikes largely don't mix. If you don't want an e-bike, then don't demo one because it could easily change your mind. That's what I'm afraid of.
I hear you. I hear you.
Thanks for still being my friend after I made the E-decision. After all, we still love Adam after he bought the river van. Miss you guys.
Oh,
Brah.
I didn't get that at first. Now I get it.
Yeah.
Okay, River Van Rivian.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's not close that.
Oh, okay.
What I would like to do, if it's okay with you, I would kind of like to break this down
Okay.
a sentence at a time.
I'm sorry I read that like on a 4th grade level. The font was so small, and I was scared that if I paused while I was reading it to try to blow it up, it would make it even more messed up.
Okay, no worries. A muscle bike, that's a new one for me. I kind of like that differentiator.
We've discussed this before.
Have we thrown muscle bike into the mix as a term?
Yeah.
I didn't recall it. Maybe reading it makes more of an impression than listening to Brad's words.
Yeah, we've discussed it before.
Okay.
I told you I got it from another friend of ours who got it from the industry.
All right, okay. I think I might be on board with the muscle bike versus e-bike when you're just talking in the same conversation about both.
Yeah, because I mean, acoustic has been thrown around.
Never cared for that one.
Yeah, same. Analog.
Definitely don't care for that one.
I like muscle. I like muscle bike. Makes
Okay.
sense. The only thing is, you're going to get a bunch of people on e-bikes butt hurt thinking, well, it takes muscles to ride an e-bike too.
Well, we'll get there. Let's go back through Shannon's email, one line at a time, if it's okay with you, just to talk about. 'Cause, we've talked about e-bikes on so many episodes, and I think his experience and his reasons why he's going that route helps fill in some of the gaps that we've wondered about, or maybe expands those gaps, but gives us different ways to, hey, you remember when we asked each other this question? Now how do we feel about it, or how does it strike us, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So let's kind of go through it line by line and discuss those topics as they apply to e-bikes versus muscle bikes in going into 2024. Does that work for you?
Yeah, it's fine. He just says, in regard to my decision for an e-bike was due largely from the peers I ride with, which is what I had said. I think there's a large contingency down there that rides e-bikes. Like he said at the end of his email, e-bikes and muscle bikes largely don't mix.
Right.
It's kind of like a single speeder mixing with geared bikes in, varied terrain. It just doesn't work overall. I mean, they can ride together, but over longer stretches or longer climbing pitches, it just doesn't work out.
I think the peer aspect of it makes a huge difference. And I'm never going to knock anybody for wanting to hang out with their buddies, their friends.
Even if they're doing stupid shit?
That's the best time.
Okay.
I mean, how many people do stupid shit by themselves? It almost always takes a bit of peer pressure to do stupid shit.
That's true. But what normally happens is somebody finds something stupid to do and they go, hey, you got to come try this. Because they don't want to be doing it by themselves.
But I mean, I definitely appreciate if I ride with this group of people and 4 out of the 6 now are on e-bikes, we're not having that same common experience that we
it's
used to
it's
to
not
have.
a shared experience at that point. Because you're struggling and hating life, and they're up there Cadillac and giggling.
I guess. I haven't experienced the joy of the e-bike yet myself.
No, but that's what he says in the next. He's like,
What's his next line?
The crew you were with largely make up the good times had.
Okay.
Which is true. I mean, we've all been on a ride where there's just one person that hates life and just bitches about everything, and it just ruins the ride. And so next time when you're trying to figure out who's going on a ride, you're like, well, not this person. In fact, when Harnish still lived here, we would take him on rides, and there was a couple of times where he was just in a bad mood, and he just bitched the whole time. And we actually called him to the carpet on it, and he, like, totally corrected, like, made a 180 and was like, you guys were right. I was looking at this the wrong way. And he started having a blast.
Good. Good.
So some people can be a little more self-aware, and once you point it out, they're like, oh, yeah, have a good time. Don't be a curmudgeon,
I mean, I think in general, a lot of people get caught up in their own stuff, and they're not even realizing how it's coming across.
Yeah.
There's always a perception of, well, if this is what I'm feeling or if this is what I'm seeing, everyone around me's seeing it the same way, sort of thing. And it's real easy to fall into that trap, I think. Not overthink it. But it's called empathy.
Yeah.
And we all need to work on our empathy skills.
100%.
All right, next line.
What does he say? Ben made the most sense, stating that e-bike is like a different sport, which is funny because I told him, we were riding at Mount Nebo, I told Ben, I said, this isn't even the same sport. He's like, fuck off, it is, giving me shit. And I was like, no, dude, this is a totally different animal. And he's like, well, it's a different ride. I can't remember exactly what he said, but he says, I do agree with the majority by saying that I will not get as good a workout as I would on a muscle bike. The e-bike keeps you aerobic for a longer consistency and could build stamina. So he said, I talked to him yesterday, and he said they rode 21 miles. They went to Huntsville. He rode 21 miles and had, I can't remember if it was 1,040 or 1,400 feet of climbing. And he said he was in zone 3 the whole time. It's like a base ride,
Well, basically, but again, we're back to, and we've had this discussion numerous times. It's not the distance that matters; it's the time. So, if he did 21 miles in Zone 3, how much time did he spend in Zone 3?
I didn't ask him his total. I could look it up on.
No, I'm saying everybody tries to equate or calculate their workout based on mileage.
Yeah, I totally am with you on this, 100%. It's time for me. Well, and that brings me to the next point. I go, so what's your range like? How did that work out?
Yeah.
And he goes, well, and he started telling me some stuff, and I go, well, hold up, how far did you ride? And that's how I got the metrics on his ride.
Okay.
And so he rode 21 miles, and I go, so how much of your battery was left? And he goes, about a quarter. And then he goes, and it said I had 31-mile range left. And I go, whoa.
That doesn't add up.
That math doesn't math. And he's like, well, you don't have to do the math because it does it for you. And I go, yeah, but if you rode 21 miles and you use 3/4 of your battery, I would assume that you have about 7 miles range left. And he goes, no, that's not how it works. I go, oh, okay. So I didn't want to argue with him.
No, I understand. And that's, for me, I'm still waiting for the 100-mile e-bike to seriously consider it, sort of thing. And I'm not saying that will be the deal maker for me at that point, but definitely if there's not a realistic 100-mile range and the bike doesn't weigh 180 pounds, it's probably something I'm not interested in until then, sort of thing.
But even with here's my thought is, why do you need 100-mile range unless you're going to be going on a long distance trip? Like if you wanted to do race across Texas on an e-bike, and then at that point, like, how do you recharge it? You go to a hotel and recharge it?
Well, I mean, a 100-mile range would be, a 100-mile loop at an event.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I see that, but you'd actually have to have like 120, 130 mile range.
well, when I say range, I mean practical range, not
Yeah.
not
Actual.
not stated
Yeah.
range.
Yeah.
Not, oh, we think it'll do 100 miles. It's like, no,
Right.
this bike is good for 100 miles. We know
Yeah.
it is, sort of thing.
Not on a flat surface in a vacuum.
Downhill with a tailwind
Yeah.
and all, everything perfect conditions, and 75-pound rider and whatever else.
E-bike he chose
But
is the Orbea Rise.
I still want to go back to the previous one a little bit. Another point that we'd spoken about. At least he agrees that overall, generally speaking, it's probably not as much of a workout.
Right. Until that battery runs out.
As a muscle bike, until the battery runs out, then it's even more of a workout.
Yeah. Especially at 46 pounds. He said this, the fork it's 150 mil up front and 140 out back.
Okay, so it is a dual suspension.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I don't think there's very many
I don't-
true mountain bikes, like what we would consider not an entry-level mountain bike. I can't think of any hardtail.
I don't know. I haven't
E-bikes.
researched those specifically, but the e gravel bikes are a thing.
Sure.
So again, I mean, I'm a hardtail guy to begin with, generally speaking. So I mean, a hardtail e-bike would make sense, but I also appreciate that I'm not the current market that's out there.
No, and mountain bikes are one of the biggest factions of e-bike.
Oh, very
growth.
very definitely, definitely.
And the majority of them are.
And the cargo bikes.
Yeah, that's true. And commuters.
Yes.
So, but and I think the majority, like by a very, very large percentage, are full suspension. A lot of them are geared at guys either wanting to just burn up trail quicker, or guys that are living in areas that they want to hit multiple runs and they want to save their legs on the climbs,
right?
And then bomb downhill. Which I get that.
I get that completely, and I guess that's what I was kind of I'm looking at it from the Houston perspective of, I understand if that's all there is in e-bikes is just the dual suspension.
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking along those lines just for where they're riding.
Yeah.
Sort of thing, but
I was in Park City, and we were riding. We were out for like an all-day ride, and we were riding up a particular hill there called Puke Hill, and it's like gravel road, but it's just this sustained climb. And these three guys I'm dying. I mean, just dying. And these three guys come riding by me, and they're just laughing and cutting up. And I was like, what the hell is going on? I look, and they're all three on e-bikes.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh. And then I found out that there's a bunch of guys that live there locally, and that's what they do, is they'll ride up this hill because it's the quickest way to get to the top, to get to all these different runs. It's not, you can't do, obviously there's no lift and there's no shuttle support because it's remote. And so that's what those guys will do. They'll go out and hit, 5 or 6 runs, and then they'll just send it back into town because you can just descend all the way from there back into town. So I was like, that makes sense,
that makes all the sense in the world.
Especially when you're talking about like versus going to a park and paying for a lift ticket. Speaking of,
okay,
Kieran's going to Breckenridge for New Year's with some friends of his and their parents. And so he asked me to get his lift ticket for him for Christmas.
And how much is a lift ticket these days?
3 days at Breckenridge. Just guess.
600.
Bargain. $772 for a 3-day lift ticket. Like Ice Cube said, no Vaseline. Unbelievable. I was like, dude, you're not going to get a lot under the tree this year.
Right.
I'd rather buy you something. I know he's going to create memories, and have fun. But I was like, I'd rather get you something that you'll have for a while rather than.
Yeah.
But I'm excited for him.
He's gonna have a good time.
Luckily, his housing is paid for, and everything that he needs to ride, I had. I mean, board, boots,
Okay.
pants, helmet, goggles, gloves. I mean, and I felt like pretty awesome because I was like, dude, I have everything you need. And he was like, pfft. And I started pulling out my stuff, and he's like, oh, dude, this is sick. He loved all of my kit. So I was like, I kind of felt cool.
There you
I
go.
was like, I'm not the old man.
Cool dad mode.
Yeah. But that was
Good job, Karen.
that was a lot I mean, I guess I haven't bought a lift ticket in forever, but I was like, what are we doing? I mean, I get that it's inherent cost running lifts and employing everybody and running cats and marking trail and
Right.
blocking off ice zones and,
I mean, it's supply and demand is ultimately what it boils down to, right?
Yeah, I get that.
It's like, I mean, technically speaking, even though the chairs are, rotating all day long, it's still a limited capacity.
Yeah.
So if you got butts and seats all day long, you can just keep raising that price to, now we've got three spare seats. Maybe we need to knock the price down a little bit, sort of thing. I mean, that's easy enough to calculate. And,
Yeah. Well, I mean, until people start going, I'm not paying those prices.
Right.
It won't come down.
I think that's what I just said in
Yeah.
a roundabout way.
Yeah. I mean, I was just reiterating that I agree with you and I understand what you're
So
saying. I acknowledge you, Kevin.
how many runs does he get for $250 a day or whatever?
I mean, theoretically, you can be there when the lift's open, and they typically open at, I don't know, 8 or 9 o'clock.
Okay.
And I don't think they close until like maybe 45 minutes till sundown.
Okay. So but I mean, so what? How long's the trip up and down the hill, sort of thing? And
It depends on what you do, how much dicking off you do. But, I mean, I've gone before and gotten like 15, 20 runs in a day.
okay.
But you have to be on a mission to get that many runs.
You have to be on a mission.
Because it's so easy to dick off and do other stuff, go into the shop and, get hot chocolate, get a sandwich, sit down, look for your friends, get to the top of the lift, wait for people.
Right.
Get to the bottom of the lift, wait for people.
Right.
Pull out a map, try to figure out, I want to hit this run, then get lost. There's all kinds of stuff. Until you get the mountain kind of nailed and get kind of in sync, your first day you might get 8 or 10 runs,
Right.
and even then you're going to be beat up.
Sure.
So, and it depends on if you're taking, I can't remember. I don't think I've ever been to Breckenridge, but some mountains have a 2-tiered system. So from the base, you can take one lift up, and then there's like a secondary base, and then there'll be multiple lifts that go up to the top. Mm-hmm. And so you can ski down this side, and you can either go all the way down to the base, or you can just go to this secondary level and then take that back up, and you're just staying on the top of the mountain. And some of them just have lifts that run from the very bottom all the way to the top.
So, are we to the point now that all of the ski places have acknowledged that snowboards are a thing and they're allowed at all of them, or is there still a little bit of a segregation thing going on?
Taos was the last holdoff that I'm aware of.
That was the last one that I was aware of, but
I don't know if they're.
I'm pretty sure they acquiesced and allow boards now.
Yeah, it would have been stupid for them not to, but yeah, it says if you just look up, I just literally did a Google search for Taos, and it says Siri suggested website, best skiing and snowboarding in New Mexico. So that, yeah.
I know they were doing a big deal of holding out and making a point of it.
Yeah, and they were very vocal about it.
Yes.
But it's funny because, snowboarding's been out since I want to say mid-'80s. And it was very, very frowned upon for quite some time.
Oh, sure.
It took a long time to make
Very,
it in.
very similar to gravel riding, but from the roadie crowd.
Yeah, I think it's a lot more elegant sport, personally.
I've never done either, so I can't speak to it. I've never been a snow bunny.
It's less moving parts. You don't have poles, and your feet can't go different directions, and Some may say it's more limiting. I don't know. I've just always been a snowboard guy, not a ski. But I grew up on a skateboard.
You were a skateboarder.
Yeah. And surfer. So
I tried surfing a couple times. I was a much better skateboarder. And I was a shitty skateboarder.
But you also tried surfing in Florida.
Yes. Yeah. You need something that actually pushes you.
Yeah. The surfing in Florida is mediocre at best, and that's during like storm season.
The best of times down there. So yeah.
I mean, there's places that their shittiest waves are better than the waves in Florida.
Oh, well, yeah, we know that.
I mean, Florida's great for body surfing. Don't get me wrong, but as far as like having enough time to catch a wave, get up, and actually play on the wave, they're not that sustained.
Sure.
So.
Oh yeah, we definitely are aware of that. It was not the surf scene by any stretch of the imagination.
So I did get, speaking of presents and bikes.
Okay.
And Paula buying me presents that she didn't know about. The Pro Closet had XTR trail pedals on sale for $39.99.
Okay.
And so I took advantage to get a pair of those because those are the pedals that I ride on most of my bikes. Still haven't fully converted to flat pedals, admittedly.
Understood.
But I got a pair of those, and I got a Park chain tool, the Masterlink pliers.
Okay.
I'm happy to have those because the only ones I have prior were Wolf Tooth, their little tool.
Their multi-tool?
Yeah, the 6-bit or whatever it is. And I keep that in my bag, so I'm always, every time I'm messing with a chain, I have to like dig through my bag and get that out and then make sure I put it back in there before I go on a ride and that kind of. So I was like, I've been meaning to get a pair of these pliers forever. So now I have those.
Very
I'm excited.
nice. Very nice.
And I have a pair of backup XT pedals. So
even
can't
nicer.
beat them for $40.
That's a hell of a price.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a price there. But I mean, lots of bike stuff's going for a hell of a price right now.
Yeah.
I think we might be close to the. I'm not saying that everything's going to be sunshine and roses for the bicycle industry next year, but I think we might be in the middle of the panic trough, where people are throwing shit out at ridiculous prices just to flush it now, and it might be a little bit into the overreaction phase of that right now for the industry. And
it's going to create a problem too, though.
How so?
Well, I mean, then you have way too much supply and no demand.
Understood. I think that's kind of what we've been going through this year. They've got the supply and no demand, and that's why they're doing the panic selling right now.
Yeah.
And I think at some point they'll get to where it's like, oh, we don't have much inventory left now, and it is going to take 2 years to start shoring back up, because all of a sudden demand does pick back up a little bit. But who knows? We'll see. We'll see.
So basically, we're going to go through sales intervals. They're going to go hard, then slack off, and then go hard and slack off.
I think we're at the peak of how hard they're going putting stuff on sale now. Now will it last another week or two? Will it last throughout 2024? That's hard to say. But I think if anybody's holding their breath, waiting for even lower prices, I don't think that's going to happen. But I could be proven wrong.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it also depends on what you're looking at too. You know, I mean, complete bikes. I don't think complete bikes are going to get much cheaper. But frame sets, I think we're going to see frame sets drop.
I'm going to beg to differ on that one, because I mean the complete bikes are going so cheap because the component providers to those complete bikes are discounting their stuff, and so that's where they're able to give their 50% savings or whatever is that they're getting flexibility on their component pricing, sort of thing. But we'll see. We'll see. I think generally speaking, frame sets themselves, we're back in the realm of there's not very many people that are buying their bikes frame set up these days.
That's sad.
Well, it's the reality of the industry, though.
Yeah.
People are buying complete bikes. Very few people are buying frame set up. Not as many. It's still available, and a lot of people still do it, but not nearly like it used to be. Actually, I got an email from Chumba today. They're putting out a new line.
That's funny. I'm on Chumba's site trying to look at their pricing right now.
They're doing a new titanium line. It was like a sneak peek email thing, but I'm sure by the time this gets published, it will be.
What's it going to be called?
Bear with me. I'm bringing up the email now. Introducing the SoCo SL Titanium all-road bike.
That seems to be the next generation of the, and Salsa's done it for a couple of years with their War Road.
And Loft does it.
Yeah.
Everybody's trying to make the all-road niche work.
I guess the War Road is not the same thing as what we're calling an all-road, because it's more of a road bike with gravel personality.
That's what all the all-roads are right now.
I thought the all-road was a gravel with more of a mountain bike feel.
No, all-road is. When it first started coming out a few years back, it was a gravel bike with more roadish capability, but it's kind of morphed to a road bike with a little bit of gravelish.
This is almost as confusing as pronouns.
I'm just saying, I think it's a solution looking for a problem thing myself. I really do.
That's what a lot of this is. Just ride your damn bike.
Well, again, it's the whole bike industry is built on the N+1 model.
Yeah.
And
the more you say that, the more I agree with it.
So they're all trying to, they're always trying to, it's like, oh, I just sold this person a titanium gravel bike.
But it seems like as an industry, you realize the struggle you're in. Maybe you would hold up on the N+1 motive. Let's sell what we have, and then let's dangle the new shiny object. You know what I mean?
Well, but I mean, if that's how the industry's been surviving for, let's say, 30 years.
Yeah.
Probably longer, but that's probably as long as my perception of adult cycling kind of goes back.
Well, it kind of happened. It happened in road biking first, where people started changing frame materials. And then componentry was constantly getting upgraded. And then once mountain bikes hit the market, it was just off to the races.
Well, so that used to be the natural progression. As technology improved, it was time to upgrade a bike. Mm-hmm. So that was the original N+1. And then N+1 evolved to, I have a road bike. Mm-hmm. I could use a mountain bike too.
Yeah.
That's kind of neat. It would be nice to. We've got a lot of trails around here, and I've got some friends that ride mountain bikes. Okay, I'll get a mountain bike too. Somewhere down the road, it's like, okay, well, I've been hanging out with some single speed friends, and my N+1 is going to be a single speed now.
Yeah.
And then, okay, there's, cyclocross is going on. Maybe I'll get a cyclocross bike.
Yeah.
And then, hey, gravel's going on. There's no gravel bikes. I'll use my cyclocross bike, or will I use my hardtail 20? Oh, hey, now the gravel bikes are out there. And there's a natural N+1. Yeah. So that was the, originally it was, I'm a roadie, and we've upped the technology to carbon fiber. Okay, now I need to update my bike. Then it started turning into diversification of disciplines was the reason for it.
And then it was, hey, we've got 29er wheels now.
Then all the diversification was done. It's like, we got to simulate technology advancements with this minutia that doesn't really make a difference for most people, and it just creates more confusion in the market ultimately. And I'll be honest with you, I think this all-road designation kind of falls into that. I get it. They're trying to make gravel rider specific riders that are thinking they might want to do more roads riding, go that way. Or, hey, you're a road rider primarily, but you still want to be able to do some gravel, maybe kind of, sort of. This is probably a better fit for you. And my experience so far has been it's going to be counterproductive, because I am seeing it from and this isn't meant as a slight, but the holdout roadies that haven't gone gravel yet, they're still kind of sort of gravel curious, but they still want it to be more like road riding, but they're riding gravel.
It's getting more like road riding.
To some extent, it is,
especially on the higher categories.
I mean, I think the organization of the competition is getting more roadish, along those lines. But ultimately, what the people that want a more road-like experience, they want gravel roads that are not gravel roads. They want paved roads, basically, and the people don't appreciate that. What's the best way to put it? I see those posts on a regular basis. Hey, I live in Irving, and I want smooth gravel roads. Where I want to try gravel on smooth gravel roads. Where can I go? And you say, well, you got to go an hour and a half this way. No, I just want them right here in Irving. It's like,
don't worry, we'll bring them to you.
It doesn't work that way.
But what they want is they want a 20-foot wide single track. They want smooth.
Yes.
They don't even want gravel.
No.
They want dirt.
No, they don't. They don't even want crushed granite.
Yeah. It's funny because there's so if you have the aggressive versus the delicate, the road, mountain, and then they're both kind of feeding into gravel. It's interesting because if you come from mountain biking to gravel, you're like, oh, this is smooth. This is fast.
Right.
If you come from road into gravel, you're like, man, this is rough.
This is ridiculous.
Slow, So it's just interesting how different the perspectives are based on what your previous experience is.
Yeah, and I think there is actually a natural progression that's going roady, gravel, and that's feeding into new mountain bike riders. I think that progression is actually happening. It's not the majority. I don't want it to sound like, oh, hey, we had 10,000 traditional road riders that have gone gravel, and now 9,000 of them are interested in mountain biking too. No, it's more like, maybe 1,000 of them, 10%.
Yeah.
But I think the bicycle industry, because it went the other way too. You had mountain bike riders that got into gravel, and they're like, oh, well, those people are going to want to go road now. And I don't think that's happening.
I don't think that's happening. But I'll tell you, before gravel as we know it existed, there was in fact, I even played party to it for quite some time. There was a strong contingent of people that want to be competitive, and it still exists. People that want to be competitive on a mountain bike can't really get the fitness they want strictly on a mountain bike. You have to go out and ride road, pound road, put base miles down.
That's how I got started on it.
Clock long hours, go for big long rides, get in and do pulls and everything like that. But I think now, especially with like events like you're putting on where you have 100-mile option and you have support, and you have bailouts and you have shorter routes, and it gives a lot of people that are into mountain biking and vice versa into road riding a chance to go out on a ride where they don't have to map the route. They don't have to worry about getting lost. They don't have, it removes a lot of the worries from them. But from a mountain biking perspective, it allows them to go and put in those long rides with those big efforts in a somewhat controlled environment, in
a safer environment too.
Yeah.
And also don't discount. I know this isn't in your wheelhouse yet, but going back to, when I started riding road, that was the only way I could get those everyday rides in, those daily grinds, so to speak, to build the base. You can accomplish that now on a smart trainer. No ifs, ands, or you can put in your 3 days of Zwift each week, and 3 days of riding where one of them's a real long day on a Saturday or a Sunday.
Yeah.
And you're going to get that fitness and training that you needed
to
truly build the base for the endurance stuff. But along those lines, on the mountain bike side, endurance mountain biking is not the thing it used to be. 12 and 24-hour races are few and far between these days compared to what they used to be.
Yeah.
But I do think that's something that's likely to come back in the mix. And probably not as big as it was, but I still say XC endurance mountain biking is probably the next growth area in cycling and events, but not the tradition. More like the ramble stuff, more like the mixed surface stuff.
Yeah.
Including more single track and making it maybe not an hours-based format, but along the lines of gravel, make it a mileage-based format, 100 miles, 150, 200 miles.
Yeah.
But it's going to incorporate all this other stuff, the mixed surface stuff. But I think it's going to become more oriented towards the XC mountain bikes, where people do need a mountain bike to pull it off, not a gravel bike.
I think that I like the direction, and maybe it's just wishful thinking, but it seems inevitable that, and I think I've said something to this nature before, that people that are wanting to host gravel events or mountain bike events are going to start melding the lines and start putting on, not only does it kind of meld your audience as well, because you're drawing from multiple disciplines. I mean, just like Rudolph's Revenge, right? You've got just straight up roadies that have mountain bikes that enter that race, and you have straight up mountain bikers that don't ride the road that enter that race.
Right.
And then you have single speeders, and I mean, it attracts from multiple disciplines. And then when you start doing a ride like Rule of Three, you're attracting multiple disciplines as well. So I think it's good for the draw, but it's also good for the organizer, because they can not stay on gravel 93% of the time, which is difficult, lacing together a route that's obtainable and reachable by the consumer that consists a majority of gravel. If you undo that limitation, then you can put on an event that A, is closer, and B, has a more varied terrain. And it's kind of a win-win-win almost, except for I don't know what you have to go through with permits and all that shit. So I don't worry about legality.
Of course you don't. Of course you don't.
But I'm not an organizer.
It does make things, generally speaking, more complicated. Combining an authorized mountain bike trail with a network of roads, and with, if there's another trail in the mix or another park or whatever else, trying to get all those pieces coordinated can be complicated. That was part of the beauty of all or nothing and utilizing for our ranch, is that, I mean, that was like the ideal central spot.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So we're
and it's pretty,
and it's gorgeous up there. So we're definitely looking forward to doing that one again. I've got some other ideas for some mixed terrain stuff I'd like to throw into the mix. But man, we talk about it all the time on these sorts of events. Weather is always a factor. It's like everything around here is just so weather sensitive, and that makes that complicates it that much more.
Weather is always a factor.
Somebody said that. I've heard that before.
Yeah.
I don't know where it comes from.
I can't remember who, but I agree. But
Did we cover all of Shannon's email, or did we go sideways on that?
He just talks about one of the things we briefly mentioned. You guys mentioned handling of the bike would be the difference, which I still think that's a huge factor.
I think. Well, I think
if everything's level,
I think he's maybe combining a couple of the issues or topics we've talked about. He alludes. At first I thought he was talking about handling at speed, like you talked about last week, but more that also seems to indicate he's going into, there's a big difference from one e-bike to the next. So he kind of covers both in that sentence. Yeah. And again, for me, and I'm looking at that from an organizer standpoint. For me, it's still really difficult just to say, hey, here's an e-bike category.
Yeah.
Because there's and jailbreak. You jailbreak it, that takes it to another level.
Yeah. I forgot what he was telling me. There's two different styles of jailbreak. One of them you can go above
the max speed.
Above your max speed, which I think when they come, they're limited to like 19 and a half or 20 miles an hour. But also how much power you can put down.
How much assist there is.
Yeah. So I think that's the other part of then they're two different jailbreaks from what I understand. I don't know. I'm speaking out of my ass, honestly. Right. I'm probably wrong. So,
I understand that. And I mean, it's come up when we've, again, from an organizer's perspective, there's been times when we did mountain bike events and, hey, are you going to have an e-bike category? And it's like,
right.
One year we weren't able to do it because the insurance we had at that time specifically excluded anything motorized.
Yeah.
And we tried to nail it down. Hey, e-bikes don't fall into this. As far as that insurance company was concerned, they did. So, I caught shit from the e-bikers for that one because I didn't change insurance companies in the middle of the year. It's like,
who cares?
So the next year, it wasn't because of the e-bike, but for other reasons, we changed insurance, and that one did allow e-bikes. But then we got caught up in then I had to abide by, at this land manager's requirements, we can do e-bikes. This one we can't. This one we can if they have a permit for, assisted riding or whatever else. So basically we ended up with one event that we could anybody that wanted to ride an e-bike was allowed to be there.
Yeah.
And so we put an e-bike category in. And for 3 years prior to that, all I'd been getting was just put the category up. They'll come. People aren't going to be so picky about it. And I put an e-bike category up there, and the first 3 emails I get, well, how do I know that I'm not racing against jailbroke bikes? Or, well,
I want to cheat, but I don't want to get out cheated.
It's not fair if I think they listed specific bike motors or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know.
Yeah.
That's my point. You're saying it yourself. My e-bike isn't comparable to another e-bike, so it's not fair for them to race me. It's like,
are we really racing at that point if you're using all that assistance?
Evidently, yes. Yes. Okay. I'm not disputing that you can race motorcycles, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, but you're in the 250cc class, or you're in the 400, or you're in the 2-stroke or the 4-stroke, or
right. And I guess that's my point. At this juncture, there's no way to categorize e-bikes like that, right?
I don't know. I don't know how they all break down. I know that Shannon was explaining to me that like the carbon version of his bike has a lighter motor, which is what leads to the overall lightness of the bike, meshed with the carbon frame, obviously, and slightly better componentry. But so it'll go as fast. It just doesn't have as much range. But then you start putting 2 different riders on a bike, like Shannon weighs, probably 30, 40 pounds heavier than me.
Sure.
And so that's going to affect his range versus if I'm on the same bike.
Sure.
But that's also going to, I would think, affect the acceleration and overall.
But again, if you go into the parallel to motorcycle racing, 250cc class.
Yeah.
Okay. If you're carrying 50 pounds extra, that's your penalty. That's not the class penalty. That's not the bike's penalty.
That's fair, but I mean, much to your point that there's so many, like even within, like if you only had a class for Orbea, you would still have would still have 5 different people on 5 different bikes.
I think what we're getting to is, or what's processing in my head now is actually for e-bike racing in an XC environment. We're getting super specific, super niche, which is never going to happen. I realize that.
Yeah.
But to address that, the e-bike categorization itself has to be standardized, that this is a
And it's really not at this point.
No, this is a 700 watt bike. This is a 1200 or whatever. I don't know what that differentiator is.
Nor do I.
And
I know there's like on most bikes, there's 3 or 4 different levels. Let's just go to one of the big box brands real quick. Let's go to name your big box brand.
I mean, Specialized.
That's what I was thinking. Let's look at their e-bikes and see if we can't just figure out their different tiers of e-bikes really quick. We won't spend a lot of time on this, but
we can edit it if we spend too much time.
Electric. Let's just focus on mountain, right?
Sure.
Although I have to so they have a road bike. They have one road bike. They have 4 different mountain bike, and then they have active. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's 11 total. And then they have a Globe, which I don't know what that is. Probably a cargo bike. And then they have a kids e-bike as well. So 13 different e-bikes offered by Specialized.
Well, and the active now that's a huge point. We didn't address that when we were talking about the different e-bike segments. And maybe it kind of lumps into your commuter group as well. But the super part-time rider that like takes a bike with them on vacation or whatever. That those folks are all over the e-bike.
Yes. In fact, I mentioned it on the last podcast, I think. There was a female that finished her ride at North Shore, and it was her second ride on her e-bike, and it's because they were in Bentonville and rented an e-bike on vacation.
I'm talking about the people that go to Destin for a beach trip, and where maybe they used to take a beach cruiser with them to pedal two blocks or whatever. Now they're taking a $2,000 e-bike instead.
All right, let's start with the Kenevo. I just want to see what their motor size is. Where's the specs? These are all just sexy pictures.
How they define it? Or
drivetrain. Would it not be in the drivetrain? What are we doing here? So it's got a Specialized turbo full power system 2.2 motor. That doesn't... Okay, 700 watts per hour. Battery.
That's the battery.
Yeah, so it's 700 WH.
But that's the battery. That really doesn't mean so. It just says Specialized 2.2 motor. So which so how does that compare to an Orbea 3.8 motor?
Right. There's even more cloudiness here.
Yeah, that's my point. So it's Here's
a turbo Levo SL. Let's just see what their motor is. Now that I know where to find it, kind of.
Right.
Battery. So this has a 320 watt hour battery. Motor is that Specialized SL 1.1 custom lightweight motor. So much like I was saying, this has less than half the battery, and it has a lesser powered motor as well. So even if you push
but is it 50% less? We don't know.
Well, mathematically, 1.1 is half of 2.2.
But that doesn't necessarily. That's just labeling.
No, I know.
So, that helps sell the 2.2. That maybe is just a 20% more powerful motor. All right, and I know there's going to be people on e-bikes that are getting frustrated with me that I'm knocking e-bike racing. I am not knocking e-bike racing.
It's just so hard to wade through and figure out.
As an organizer, I mean, I've been told multiple times, just put the category up there and people will show up. I've put the category up there multiple times and people haven't shown up. And not that I'm overly concerned about that. Don't blast the events for not having the e-bike races, because I know there are some events that have e-bike categories and I haven't seen any of them that are drawing huge numbers. If e-bike riders want a form of competition specifically for them, help us out. Help define that for us. It's not for us to say this is what it takes to make head-to-head e-bike racing make sense. Y'all need to tell us what it takes for that to make sense.
You know what? I'm curious, but I think that enduro has e-bike categories. I wonder how they navigate that. But I'm not sure.
Well, I mean, the pedal sections are untimed. But, I mean, obviously
you would be able to rest in between stages, because a lot of those you have to pedal from stage to stage.
But hypothetically speaking, and yes, we're idiots. We don't know what we're talking about. Would definitely love to hear from the Enduro Bras on this one.
I could be completely wrong.
No, I'm pretty sure you're right, and I'll dig into it later this week to get a little more detail on it. But hypothetically speaking, even if you don't have the same motor as the other people, since you're untimed at the up segments, for lack of a better term, you can take your time to do that and have comparable rest to somebody with a bigger motor, sort of thing. The downhill, then you're into who's got the better suspension and everything like that. But there's definitely pedal sections. Even when you're in the gravity section, there pedal assist and the wattage from the motor. There's going to be areas where that does come into play, but I think overall, then you're back into what you were talking about last week, the bike handling. If you've got the bike handling in an enduro environment, in the gravity environment, where your bike handling skills at 25 miles an hour have more benefit than somebody that has a bigger motor that can only ride those fast sections at 18 miles an hour.
And I can only imagine that like a 45-pound bike, if your suspension was set up properly, would just eat up bumps so much better anyways, because you're a lot more grounded. If you have enough travel and everything where you can just like float through stuff and handle it, and then you're not worried about trying to power that thing in the sections where you do have to pedal, and you have pedal assist, I could see that to be like a winning combination.
Potentially, and that's one. I'll go down that rabbit hole a little bit this week. And
here's my prediction for 2024: less e-bike talk
from us. Okay.
What do you think besides all road is going to be the buzzword around cycling in 2024? What do you think we're going to see more of? What do you think we're going to see less of?
More e-bike.
Son of a bitch. I don't think you're wrong. I honestly don't think you're wrong. And I think we're going to look back on this in a couple of years and be like, why didn't we just adopt?
No, and that's what I'm saying. I'm trying to adopt.
Yeah.
I'm trying to adapt. I don't think e-bikes are there yet. I'm not saying I don't think cycling is there. I don't think e-bikes aren't there yet for them to fold themselves into the event and the competitive side of things. I think it's going to take one of two things: either classification among the different types of bikes or capabilities or whatever, or just e-bike only events that are out there. But I don't think that's going to happen until we get, again, to that 100-mile e-bike range.
I think we're saying the same thing, but here's my unpopular opinion.
Okay.
I think e-bikes should remain recreational until they get more structured.
I agree completely.
Yeah.
I think they make perfect sense as a recreational outlet. I don't think we're to the point where they make sense from a formal event in the traditional cycling environment.
Like, think of if we had an open doping category in racing. Then you would be like worried about, well, is this guy doing EPO and is he doing this? And you'd have to level the playing field with that.
That people would be looking for it. It's like, oh, well, I don't have the budget to do a transfusion every other day.
Yeah. Oh shit! Sorry.
Grief, Brad. But what else is going to be a buzzword? It's going to be interesting to see which direction all road goes. I don't want to be proven right, but I still think I don't think all road is the right direction. I don't think that's a growth market myself, but I
think they're just trying to play off of all mountain.
I'm happy to be proven wrong in that. I am still sticking to my guns that I think XC mountain biking for the next few years is going to be. You
said endurance earlier, though, not XC specifically.
But I think endurance is what's going to feed it.
You're talking about like marathon distance, like 60-mile.
We don't know yet. That's the point I'm making. I think XC mountain bikes are going to drive the next growth area of cycling.
It seems to me that XC mountain bikes are like one of the fastest dying categories in mountain bikes.
They had been. They're coming back. That's my point.
But now they're calling them down country, not cross country.
They tried that for a couple years as it was dying, and the industry is bringing back XC.
But in a racing format, are you suggesting that it's still like a 3-lap format kind of thing, or more of a big loop?
Don't know yet. That's my point. It's the platform is going to differentiate. I still think it's going to be the mixed surface thing.
Me too. I think it's going to be multi-surface, mixed surface, whatever you want to call it.
I think it's the mixed surface that is going to be able to utilize the efficiency of an XC mountain bike, but still have the suspension capabilities of modern mountain bikes, dual suspension. It's that's what to me makes the most sense for the next area of growth. But who knows? Maybe it would be spurred by when they can take this lightweight 26-pound dual suspension mountain bike that still has 140 millimeters of travel, but rides like an XC rig, not an enduro rig. And then when they can throw a motor and a battery in it that lets it go 75 or 100 miles for this mixed surface ride, maybe that's what takes everything to that next level. I think the people that are riding the electric mountain bikes, the 46-pound dual suspension mountain bike, but they can only go 30 miles on it.
I don't think anybody has that much of a limit.
Or I don't know. Whatever that line is, 30 miles, 40 miles, 50 miles, whatever it is.
That's the thing I didn't look at is the range on any of those bikes.
All I've heard is never ignore those ranges. They're meaningless.
Yeah. But at least at least it's a suggestion.
Nobody goes over the range. Let me put you that way.
Yeah.
If it says it's a 40-mile range, plan on 25. If it says it's a 50-mile range, plan on 40.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
This doesn't even give a suggested.
Well, they don't. And particularly and then if you jailbreak it, then your range is completely gone because you're burning so many more watts out at a faster rate. But I think that the modern XC mountain bike that's coming out, that's out there now, and it is getting, because I mean they ride like the enduro bikes from 10 years ago, if not better. But they still ride even better than the XC bikes of 10 years ago as well. But it's, the people that are riding the heavier enduro bikes or the e-bikes, and they're wanting to go further than their range allows them to go, or that I don't want to pedal this enduro bike uphill for 15 miles. I don't want to do that. I think that's the N+1 that's going to work for those people. The e-bikes, the enduro bikes, the gravel riders that came over from the road, that, hey, this off-road stuff's kind of fun. Maybe I'll start riding single track now, try it out the mountain, because I've got so many mountain bike trails that are just out my back door. I can't drive 2 hours to ride gravel like I used to all the time. I think that's a natural progression for a lot of the gravel riders, is to start riding single track. But they're not going to want an enduro bike, and they're not going to want an e-bike. But an XC mountain bike does make sense for them.
What a bunch of picky bitches. Just ride your bike. I've said it multiple times. Just ride your bike.
Just ride your bike. Is it that time?
Sure.
Well, the one thing we're going to check out Hutchins today. That's our birthday dinner. You guys said you did Hutchins, right?
Yeah, but we got there not fair. We got there right at closing time, and everything was kind of but
we're going mid-afternoon.
Yeah.
So I'll give you some feedback on that.
I'd appreciate it.